Hello, good afternoon, and very happy National Payroll Week 2025 to you. Thank you so much for joining us today. So for anyone who doesn't know me, my name is Sam O'Sullivan, and I am the Policy and Advisory Lead here at the CIPP. And this week, we have launched the findings of our new CIPP Payroll Insights survey reports. So first of all, I want to give a bit of an introduction about me and then why we brought the surveys into play in the first instance. But before I do, please do say hi in the chat. I'd love to know where you are joining us from today. And if you do have any questions throughout the session, you will find a Q&A box at the top of your screen. If you do have any questions, please add them into the Q&A box so at the end of my presentation, I can find them nice and neatly. And if someone else has put a question in there and you also want to ask the same question, you can upvote it. So click on the little thumbs up and you can bump it to the top. So then I'll see those questions first. Lots of people saying it's rainy where they are. Me too. It's awful outside today. Someone did not get the memo that it's National Payroll Week and they did not order us any sunshine. Okay, so a little bit about me. So I've always worked in payroll. It was my first job after leaving school. I'm not going to tell you how many years I've worked in payroll. And like everyone else, fell into it, loved it, decided to stay. I've worked primarily within an in-house function, but I did have a couple of years as a payroll manager. It was as it was NGA, now Zelis. So I've also managed teams in an outsourced capacity. And then I moved into an advisory role, not at the CIPP actually, but for a different company. And whilst I was there, I had my second son, who has this week started primary school. So big week this week. And whilst I was on maternity, the policy lead role at the CIPP came out. So I applied for it and here we are. The rest is history. So I started at the CIPP 3.5 years ago now, looking after the policy and research team. So the policy team are the guys that look after all the news pages on the website. We know how busy everybody is in payroll. So we do all the research, we keep an eye on everything so you don't have to. So for example, the budget date has been announced for this year. So it's been announced today. It's going to take place on the 26th of November. Myself and the rest of the policy team will go into head office, we'll sit round a table, we will watch the budget and we will summarise what that means to payroll professionals. And we will let you know through the news pages of the website. We wouldn't expect everyone to sit round and watch an hour, sometimes an hour and something long budget announcement and then try and figure out what that means for them. We do that on your behalf. So I look after the policy and research team. We also bring you all the membership benefits like your handy NOL email that comes to you on a Wednesday around midday. So we summarise all the news pieces and email it to you so you can have a coffee, sit down, read all of the news that's relevant to you and our industry once a week and you remain upskilled. We also deliver our Be Connected events to CIPP members throughout the year. So they're hot topic, what you need to know right now. So we've done a holiday pay overview. We've done expenses and benefits this year. And we also did a soft skills session, which was really well received. For the rest of this year, what we're looking at doing is we've got the Department of Work and Pensions lined up to come and talk to us about the changes coming into play for statutory sick pay. And we've also potentially, fingers crossed, got HMRC lined up to come and give us an overview of the tax advisor status and what that means for people working in an outsourced capacity, whether they'll need to hold AML regulation, supervision or not. So we've got a couple of government departments lined up to come and help policy deliver on those sessions for the rest of the year. And then back at the start of last year, I was also tasked with taking on our advisory team. So our amazing advisory team, over the last 12 months, they've answered over 12,000 queries. So they have supported our members in helping them just understand a really complex piece of legislation. This is a holiday pay calculation. I think it's wrong. Can you confirm my understanding is correct and we now need to be using X, Y, Z? All of those types of things. We're there to support you on a day-to-day basis. So that's a little bit about me. And as part of the policy and research team's responsibility to our members, we're here to look at, what's going on in the industry. And we couldn't really find anyone who was producing a true benchmarking report for payroll. So one of our team members, Matt Ackrig, he as part of his foundation degree decided to review our benchmarking reports and to refresh them. And out of that, we had the Payroll Insights Survey born from it. So we've got 3 reports that I'm going to give you a whistle-stop tour of today. We separated in-house and outsource because we know the 2 functions operate very differently. And then we also had a payroll professional one. So I'm going to stop waffling. I'm going to head on in, and we are going to start by looking at the findings of our in-house surveys. So to start with, let's have a look at some key takeaways. So the findings, our survey said, I don't know who used to watch that when they were younger, when it used to be played on the telly, but I love it. So I'm going to be saying that a lot today. Our survey said that you need 1 payroll professional to process a payroll for 375 employees. Tax code queries are still the most likely to be asked of in-house payroll teams, and hybrid appears to be the new normal working arrangement, which I think is reflective, right? It's certainly how our members explain to us how they're working. A third of employers require or prefer payroll staff to hold a CIPP approved qualification, which is great. Monthly pay frequencies, they're still on top, they're still top of the pops. And this one surprised me. So the average cut-off time scale for changes for a monthly payroll is 7 days. So your cut-off is 7 days, which is really, really interesting. I thought it was going to be more. And then online pay slips, it's easier to access them than ever. So let's have a look at the number of payroll professionals in an organisation. So the median number of employees per payroll professional is 375. Now, in-house payroll teams tend to top out at 5 team members until 5,000 employees payrolled is breached. Now, this doesn't take into account the complexity of the payrolls that are being processed here. So more specialised teams may require more resource. Now, this number, obviously we ran an outsourced survey as well. So this number is slightly lower than that of outsourced payroll teams. However, the tasks may be different between in-house and outsourced. So it might be that in-house teams are doing more tasks than outsourced. For example, they'll be answering their employees' queries, their payroll queries, whereas an outsourced payroll function may not be offering to answer payroll queries, as an example to bring that to light. Okay, Let's have a look at pay frequencies and cut-offs then. So monthly pay is on top, and I don't think that's any surprise. So 99% of respondents use a monthly payroll frequency. Now, some of the percentages that you see are going to total more than 100 because they were multiple choice. So it could be that someone works in-house, they have a monthly and a weekly and a fortnightly payroll that they process. So if, as we're moving through, if percentages are over 100, that is the reason why. So the next most popular was weekly, with 24% of respondents operating that frequency. And no surprise to see that only 3% are running an annual payroll. Typically, you see those where they're director-only payrolls. Now, your cut-off deadlines, I've already explained that the 7 days I'm quite surprised at, but companies typically are giving employees and management between 2 to 3 days before payday to provide final data inputs. I am presuming, and this is maybe something that we need to clarify in the next surveys, that this is probably 2 to 3 days before your backs is sent rather than your payday, because otherwise your CHAPS payments are going to cost you a fortune, right? Okay, let's have a look. So top challenges then, I did say it was a whistle stop. We're only delivering high level overviews because we want you to go and read the reports, right? But one of the top challenges in-house payroll professionals are facing is payrolling of benefits. And it's loud and clear from that slide. And that is no surprise to the policy team here at the CIPP. Alongside those, we've got payroll system changes, that's coming through loud and clear, and legislation changes too. National insurance changes. Yes, okay, they're not doing the hokey cokey of in-year changes and rates changing mid-year, but the national insurance increases that we've seen this year have been mind-boggling, let's face it. And it's come with an increased cost. So they're the top challenges for in-house payroll teams. Let's have a look at our outsourced results and learnings. First of all, I'm just going to have a quick look at the chat because I've seen it's been quite busy. Let's have a quick look. Loads of people are saying we need to start recruiting. We are not saying that you must go and recruit. This is just the results that we had from respondents. And what I will say is, if you don't think this is reflective of your teams and the way that you work, please ensure you answer the survey for next year to ensure it is more reflective. So obviously we've taken medians over averages. It could be that, and you'll see this in the outsourced actually, that one answer could completely sway the average. So do make sure you complete the surveys for next year if you think that this doesn't sound quite right. It is the first year we've run them, so we're hoping to get a bigger response rate for next year. And then when we present it to you next payroll week in 2026, we can see how reflective it is of your situation. So let's plow on into outsourced. So hybrids there again, which is great to see. Tax codes again are there, and they're the most frequently asked question. CIPP qualified, so 23% of employers from a bureau capacity require or prefer people to hold a CIPP approved qualification. Cut-off periods are shorter, which I think we'd expect to see, and one payroll employee produces 640 payslips per month in an outsourced capacity. I am expecting the chat to go wild as you see that, and you will probably tell me that you are producing a lot more than that, but let's wait and see. So for payroll employees then, let's have a look at the medians again. So the median number of clients and payrolls per payroll employee is 70, and they produce 640 payslips a month. Now that is higher than that of in-house teams, and as we said before, that's probably due to the job specifics being different and the tasks that in-house teams versus outsourced teams are performing. Now, the average here significantly skewed the results because we had a response from an umbrella company payroll provider. So therefore, that's why it's really important that we're considering the median primarily. So in our next survey, so in the 2026 surveys, we're going to be asking, do you consider yourself as a specialist payroll provider? So we can then remove those from the averages and we can report on them separately, so it's not skewing figures. So we wanted to get a benchmark on pricing and key performance indicators. So whilst many respondents use multiple pricing structures through a need to accommodate either standard or more niche client types, the standout winners were bespoke pricing and then price per payslip. Price per employee and price per pay period both sat at 35%. Now, for your KPIs, payrolls completed on time was the most popular, which is no surprise, and it's music to the CIPP's ears that payrolls being completed on time is the most popular KPI that bureaus are providing to their clients. Client satisfaction and payroll errors followed closely behind. Now, there was 8% where people marked other, and from the other KPIs reported, they were chargeable time, time spent per client, billing recoveries, and the number of payroll reruns that have been performed, which all seems fair to me. Casting my mind back to what we used to report on when I was in a bureau setting, that absolutely looks accurate. We also used to do additional payments if anyone had overtime missed or something like that. From this, it's really good for bureaus to be able to open this and reflect on what you do provide to your clients right now. Is it that it's time for a refresh? Now we've got a bit of a benchmark as to what other bureaus are providing. It might be a good opportunity to sit down with your clients and say, look, do these KPIs work for you? Would you like to amend it? We've got a benchmark now. Which of these would you like us to report on? So you've got that option there. Okay, top challenges for outsourced. What a shock, it's payrolling of benefits, not. So we know that payrolling of benefits is a biggie. It's something that the policy team are concentrating on. We're putting a lot of time and effort into it. So once I have gone through the findings of the reports, I'm going to give you a really high level overview as to what we know about payrolling of benefits, what's coming in and when, and what we're doing at the CIPP to support HMRC to make sure we get it implemented successfully. So we could see that these are the biggest top challenges for both in-house and outsourced. I'll be giving an update at the end of today's session. Something that comes out quite a lot here, holiday pay. I did hope that the changes to holiday pay that we saw from last January, that's bringing in the 12.07% calculation again. I hope that was going to ease the burden. We've still got the burden of the average holiday pay, which I think is what people are facing. Client retention comes through here. And the other thing that comes through is clarity. Now, for anyone who is an outsourced payroll professional, and especially if you responded to the survey, I'd love to know what you mean by clarity. Essentially, I need some clarity about what clarity means. So if anyone can shed a light on that, please do so. Either pop it in the chat or you can email policy and let us know. The email address for policy, I will type it in the chat, is policy at cipp.org.uk. There you go. I've popped it into the chat for us all to see. Okay, let's move on to payroll professionals. So this one, we really wanted to get a benchmark of the tasks people are performing at different levels of their career and the salaries that people are receiving. So there's lots of pay salary guides out there. Most of them are published by a recruiter. And at that point, we know from moving jobs that a salary or a role, sorry, can be advertised at X salary, but that's normally the top band of that salary. We wanted to know exactly what people are receiving. So not what people are recruiting roles at, but what people are receiving. So someone who's just joined a company, someone who's been at a company for 3 years and gone through 3 pay reviews, for example. So we wanted a snapshot of truly what people are earning. So let's go through to key takeaways. So hybrid working, it's come through again. The average payroll professional is 43 years old, identifies as female, works in a payroll bureau or manufacturing in Southeast England. There you go. That is what our survey said. And I do feel the age and sex is reflective of who we see at lots of events. So I feel like that is a key takeaway and we've kind of hit the nail on the head. It can take on average 2.5 years to reach manager or director level when joining a company, but that it doesn't mean that you can start as an apprentice and become a director in 2.5 years. Previous payroll experience matters in that, but it can take 2.5 years to progress to the next stage of your career, the next progression opportunity, so to speak. And then this one was huge for us. It was amazing to see that having a CIPP approved level 5 qualification, so think about the foundation degree in payroll management, that could increase your salary by 17%. So as we move through, we'll see those differences there. But I just thought that was amazing to be able to see that. So working arrangements and earnings then. So hybrid, you can see from in-house and outsource that this was going to come out in the payroll professional survey too. So it's fully taken the hold of the payroll profession. And I do think, without wanting to say the C word, but I do think COVID had a big part to play in that we were all shipped home, we all had to work from home, and we proved that we could do it. And this is true across all areas of the UK. So in London, 100% of respondents work in a hybrid manner. Now, where hybrid is used, the average days in the office and at home is between 2 and 3. That's the most favourable split, but there was no clear consensus on which way that split favours. So what we mean by that is it's not 3 at home and 2 in the office. It could be either or. So it could either be 2 at home or 2 in the office and the other 3 being made up of the different. Now, the CIPP approved qualification and impacting the earnings. So that level 5 qual can have a significant impact on your potential earnings, with an 11% pay increase on average for administrators, rising to 17% for managers and directors. So it may be that employees who encourage employees to undertake the education also then reinvest in the employee's remuneration as well as development. What we mean by that is once you've passed your level 5, you may get a pay increase as a well done and to reflect your new qualification that you hold. But that was amazing. We were absolutely delighted to see that, as were our education team. So average salary levels and role expectations then. So London salaries are higher, which was expected, but not to the same degree in all job titles. As we said from the key findings, the average age of a payroll professional is 43, but with higher levels of seniority, the age is rising above that. So there's differences, and the differences between payroll manager and payroll director may depend on the organisation worked for, with some overlap between the job requirements. And additionally, some respondents noted being called a manager whilst actually only being the sole payroll professional within their organisation. So at that point, they are the manager with lots of different hats. So they're the manager, but they do absolutely everything for the payroll function. And we see that quite often. So some of the key tasks that may indicate your seniority would be analysis and project work. That may indicate that your role is of a director position. Year-end processes and sign-offs would likely be a manager's responsibility. And tax and NI calculations would indicate a more junior role, such as administrator or apprentice. Now, bear with me while I just have a sip of my drink. Okay, so what I really think this will be useful for, and I would certainly be using this if I was in an operational environment, is for recruitment and for benchmarking for the structure within your team. So if you are recruiting, for example, you'd be able to look at what tasks that role has attributed to it, where that then sits. Is that an apprentice level? Is it administrator, team leader, manager, so on and so forth? And then you'd be able to see the relevant average salaries for people in that role. So hopefully this could be really useful for you in your role, especially if you are if you're a manager or you're recruiting for individuals or you have responsibility for the structure of your teams. Okay, whistle stop tour over. Now, we have launched our 2026 surveys. So I know we're still in 2025, but these will make up the 2026 survey. So they are out now. You can go and complete these surveys now. So for outsourced and in-house, what we're looking for there is for someone who is responsible for the payroll function to complete those surveys. So we expect a lower volume of respondents for in-house and outsource compared to payroll professional, because we want every single person who works in the payroll industry to complete the payroll professional survey. That's all around your job titles, your responsibilities, your salary, your level of qualification. So please do go and complete the surveys yourself, but also please share them with your colleagues and your networks. And we hope that you found the findings useful of what we have presented. But the challenges will be have been evident for payrolling of benefits. So let me give you an overview of what we're doing at the CIPP to support you in industry when it comes to payrolling of benefits. So first and foremost, when we got the notification that it was being delayed until April 27, that was of no shock to us. We saw it coming a mile off because HMRC had gone silent. And we knew that they wouldn't be implementing something with less than a year's notice for software. And as part of that, the policy team sat and we thought we need to create a working group throughout the industry so we can feed back to HMRC as to what it is we think needs to happen to make this a success. So as part of this cross-body working group, we have tax specialists, we have software specialists. So we've got representatives from the Chartered Institute of Taxation, so CIOT from ATT, from ICAEW, from a tax background. We've got payroll specialists also in that group. We've got software developers, and all of those individuals sit on lots of HMRC forums and working groups and roundtables. So it's not that they're not getting their voice heard, but it's really important that the industry are having a conversation without HMRC being present, because we need to determine what we're asking for from HMRC. So we've pulled all these people together, and throughout that working group, we've got a wealth of expertise which is needed for something as big as this. This is one of the biggest changes to the payroll industry, probably since RTI was implemented. So we got together, we decided what we wanted to ask for from HMRC. So we wrote to them, we wrote to the policy representatives that the policy team at the CIPP have a really good working relationship with. So that's a big first tick in the box. And essentially what we've asked for is to work alongside HMRC to co-design payrolling of benefits. And what I mean by that is we don't want HMRC to tell us how software will work. We don't want HMRC to tell us what the legislation is going to say. We want that to be a two-way conversation to build it with them. So it won't just be the software team at HMRC that says this is how you need to report it. We want software developers from industry to work with HMRC's software team to say, this is how we can build it so you get what you want, but so it works for industry and all of our clients too. The same with taxation. How are we going to make this work so it is taxed effectively? And how are employers going to get this information in time and accurately from their third party providers of benefit? So I'm talking about the boopers, the den plans of this world, all your third party benefit providers. And we wrote to them and we asked about this co-design way of working and whether they'd be essentially up for it. And they came back straight away to say, yes, please, we need some help on this matter. So it's really positive that we've now got to a point where HMRC are coming to us first and they're saying, what are your views on this? Now, from the technical note that was published from HMRC back in early April or late March, the date forgoes me, but that technical note published that draft legislation was going to be published alongside draft guidance for consultation in autumn 2025. Now, I know if I look out of my window, it looks like autumn to me, and I know it looks like autumn to a lot of you as well, because the rain is here. We haven't seen it yet, but we have got some really exciting opportunities to feed into the guidance process with HMRC. I would love to know what you would like to see included in the guidance for payrolling benefits. The first thing that we are asking for, well, the first couple of things that we're asking for is that HMRC write to benefit providers. So it's a top-down approach. We think benefit providers need to know that this change is coming, that they need to start reporting the value of benefits to their clients, so to you as employers, so you can accurately report the payrolled benefit value in every pay period for your individuals who are in receipt of a benefit. It is not going to work if employers are responsible for asking the boopers of the world, what are you doing to accommodate this? And have you got it on your radar? And how will you get this information to me in real time? accurately, and if there has been a discrepancy, how are we going to go about fixing it? So that's one of the top things that we want to address with HMRC. The second thing is the double taxation myth. So I'm calling it a myth because it is exactly that. What HMRC are aiming to do, actually, let me go back a step, sorry. This double taxation myth already happens when employers voluntarily payroll benefit. So if you in your payroll operation already payroll benefits, this would have happened to your employees in that they've got last year's benefit in their tax code that they're paying for, and now they're paying for the benefit that they're in receipt of this tax year via the payroll. So they're essentially paying it twice, They're not paying it twice. They haven't paid last year's yet. So there's an overlap on timings, but it's not double taxation. HMRC are fully aware that they need to make sure they publish something so employers can give it to their employees to say, this is what's happening. Please don't panic. It's not double taxation. It's bad timing. Let's call it that. So the CIPP and the cross-body working group will be working with HMRC to ensure we put that into layperson's terms, because it's hard for payroll people to get their heads around, let's face it, let alone the employees on your payroll. We wouldn't expect them to understand it from just knowing it off the top of their head. We need to upskill them. So they're kind of the two pieces that we're really, really working on. The other thing we've asked for is that this seems to be a massive change in process as to how voluntary payrolling, so current payrolling, works versus mandation of payrolling will work. We've essentially asked, why are you changing it? Just let voluntary payrolling continue to run, but make that the mandatory way. So what we mean by that is, at the minute, that draft, the draft technical note that they published is kind of essentially mimicking a P11D. So you'll now have an RTI field per the benefit that you report. And we've said, do you really need to know that intrinsic level of detail, that granular detail? Why doesn't an employer just payroll benefits as they do for voluntary payrolling? Because HMRC doesn't know what those benefits are. They just know that someone's in receipt of a taxable benefit and it's been payrolled. So why don't we just do that? And maybe there's an annual reconciliation that an employer has to do that then says that value contributed to company cars, that was private medical, health insurance, so on and so forth. So we're still in conversations as to how we can make that work. So if you have any ideas as to how we can make this a smooth, slick process with minimal admin burden, please do let us know. We're always really open to hear your thoughts. At the end of the day, the policy team aren't running an operational payroll anymore. You guys are. And this is where we really need to hear your voice so we can represent you appropriately. So I hope that helps to give you a bit of an overview that we may have gone quiet on payrolling benefits, but believe me, it's not quiet internally at the CIPP, especially within the policy team. We are working on this. It's one of our top priorities. So that takes me to the end of what I wanted to deliver to you. I'm going to have a look at the Q&As now to see what questions have been posed. I've had one question. So Can you confirm that the individual reports are available on the CIPP platform? Yes, I can confirm that. Let me open up my web browser and I will send you the link. And if I pop it in the chat, then you can all see that. Here we go. There you go. So the reports are available for you to view now. Yes. And the 2026 surveys are out now as well. So you can go and complete those. I'm having a look in the chat as well to see what else was there. Da, 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 da. Alex, I changed jobs in a month. Congratulations. Do you want it done now or wait until I change jobs? Do you know what, Alex? This is something that the policy team spoke about. If you're changing jobs and roles, we actually want to know twice because we want to know what your role is now and what salary you're on now. We'd also want to know what your new role is and what your new salary is. So you can complete it more than once if you're willing to do so, that is, of course. Okay, there are no further questions, which is wonderful. And I can give you all a little bit of time back, which is nice. But this week, obviously, is National Payroll Week, and we are really excited to be able to offer a special promotion for National Payroll Week. So if you use the code NPWMEM when joining as a new member, you'll be able to get 20% off your first year's membership, and that will waive the £50 admin fee. Now, that offer does only apply to new memberships, and for the first year only, the renewals will be at the standard price. So, to claim, please do email membership@cipp.org.uk and quote that reference number, as the offer isn't available online. Now, if you have any questions about membership levels, benefits, or any other inquiries to do with membership specifically, please reach out to membership@cipp.org.uk. Rachel, I can see you've asked where do you want the feedback for payroll and benefits. If you can use the policy email address, that's amazing. I've just dropped it into the chat once again. And the week isn't over, we're only midway through. So if you haven't yet registered for any of the additional webinars, please do visit the website and sign up. Please enjoy the celebrations and don't forget to tag us in any of your social media posts. But from me, thank you so much for joining me today. Enjoy the rest of National Payroll Week. Take care. And as I said, tag us in your social media posts. Thank you all very much.